This exercise set is designed for your first trimester to give you a good foundation for the rest of your pregnancy. We'll work with core strengthening and stabilization, hip strengthening, hip mobility, as well as balance. These exercises were designed with your first trimester in mind, so they're not too high impact and should be tolerable even if you're having some nausea and fatigue. The only equipment you'll need for this exercise set is a mat and an elastic band that can be put around your legs, potentially a chair if you need a little help with balance. Modified dead bug. Come onto your back on your mat, and you'll begin by bringing your arms up towards the ceiling. You then want to feel your lower abdominals and throughout the whole column of your trunk lightly brace, keeping some contact with your back along the mat. Once you've got that abdominal activation, pick up one leg and then the other so that your hips and knees are at about a 90-degree angle. You'll hold this position for 30 seconds, maintaining your breathing, keeping contact with your back on the mat, and maintaining your abdominal activation. Bent knee fallout. Lie flat on your back on the mat with your knees bent, feet planted. Bring your hands just to the pointy hip bones in the front of your pelvis. Come just to the inside of those, push down a little bit so you can feel your lower abdominal muscles. Try and tighten those underneath your fingers. To perform the exercise, you'll hold a brace of those lower abdominals, and then you'll let one leg slowly open out to the side, only going as far as you can without any rocking or motion in your pelvis. Bring it back up to the start position and repeat. The goal of this exercise is not to have any motion except for that leg. Side plank clam. If you have a band, place it just above your knees around both thighs. Come onto one side, placing your forearm directly underneath your shoulder and stacking your hips and knees and feet on top of one another. From there, you'll lift your hips up into a modified side plank. Once you're in that position, you'll perform a clamshell. Holding the plank, you'll open the top knee only, slowly and repeatedly. The feet will stay together and the hips will stay stacked on one another. As you open and close the leg, you'll have a chance to work gluteal muscles while maintaining the core and shoulder work in your side plank. Make sure to perform on both sides. Standing hip car. A hip car stands for a controlled articular rotation. You'll stand on one leg for this, using a chair or other sturdy surface for balance as needed. From there, you'll lift one leg up in front of you, resisting that motion actively with your muscles. You'll then open to the side, swing around through a peeing dog position, and bring it back through to center. You'll then reverse it, kicking the leg back, opening the leg around, bringing it forward, and placing it down. That counts as one repetition. Make sure to move slowly through this movement and really feel as if you're fighting yourself into that movement, like pushing through wet cement. That will activate all of your muscles throughout that hip range of motion. Perform 5 repetitions on each side. Standing clams. For this exercise, you can use 1 or 2 bands around the legs. If only using one, place it directly above the knees around the thighs. If adding a second band, you can place it just below the knees around the upper part of the calf. To start the exercise, bring your feet hip distance apart and sit your hips back into a small mini squat. There should be good tension on the bands. From there, open one leg out, almost into a clamshell position, and then slowly control that knee in a little bit past midline, moving back and forth slowly and with control between these two positions. Make sure the foot doesn't roll up. It should stay firmly planted the whole time for an isolated hip motion. Squat with mini band. If you're using a band in this exercise, you can actually use one or two bands. If using one band, you'll place it directly above the knees, around your thighs. If using a second band, place it directly below your knees, around the upper part of your calf. We'll start with feet hip distance apart, parallel, so both feet pointing forward. You'll hinge at your hips to sit your bottom back for a squat and perform for repetitions. You want to keep pressure into the bands the whole time. After performing in parallel, also perform this exercise with feet turned out in a wider leg position, and staggered, 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. Stagger 1 foot forward for the first set of the exercise, and then stagger the other foot forward during the second set. 3D reaching. In this exercise, we'll work on our balance in 3 different planes of motion. Start by standing on one leg with your arms overhead. From there, reach your non-standing leg forward out in front of you as your arms and torso reach back. You'll then reverse the movement, bringing your leg behind you as your torso and arms reach forward. You should feel like you're tipping almost like a teeter-totter, and there should be a fairly straight line between your reaching leg all the way through your arms. For the next direction, stay standing on that same leg. From there, you'll reach your other leg straight out to the side as your torso and arms tip towards the opposite side. Once you've reached out away from you, you'll cross that reaching leg slightly behind you and reach those arms and your torso to the opposite side. Only move as far as you can control. For the last direction, bring your non-standing leg, bent knee in front of you, rotating around that standing leg as you bring your arms in the opposite direction across your body. From there, open that non-standing leg around as you bring your arms across your body to the opposite direction. You should end up pivoting around that standing leg in a rotational direction.